Chapter 7. Adjusting to a New Life. Tadano Hitohito stood in front of his bedroom mirror, fully dressed in his new school uniform. It was undoubtedly a girl's uniform, a navy blue pleated skirt that swished around his thighs whenever he moved, a crisp white blouse, and a blazer that hugged his now curvier figure. His reflection was unsettling. The person staring back at him wasn't Tadano Hitohito, average high school boy. No. The person in the mirror looked like Shouko Komi, down to the smallest detail. His long black hair, which had once been an unruly mess, now fell in silky waves past his shoulders, almost identical to Komi's signature style. His face was soft, delicate, and undeniably feminine. Even the faint blush, dusting his cheeks, seemed to mimic Komi's natural elegance. He sighed, adjusting the ribbon at his collar. "How did my life come to this?" he muttered. "Tadano, you're going to be late," his mother called from downstairs. He groaned, grabbing his bag and heading out of his room. The skirt swished lightly against his thighs as he walked, a sensation he still wasn't used to. His mother was waiting for him at the bottom of the stairs, her face lighting up with a mix of pride and amusement as she saw him. "You look adorable," she said, clasping her hands together. "Don't start," Tadano grumbled, adjusting the hem of his skirt. "Oh, come on, sweetie, you're pulling it off better than most girls. Honestly, if I didn't know better, I'd think you were Shouko-chan's twin." "That's kind of the problem," he muttered, slipping on his shoes. His mother chuckled, ruffling his hair. "You'll be fine. Just don't trip over your skirt." He shot her a glare, but didn't bother responding. The walk to school was uneventful, though Tadano couldn't shake the feeling that everyone he passed was staring at him. It wasn't paranoia. They really were staring. He tried to ignore the glances, but it was hard to pretend he didn't notice the whispers. "Is that Komi-san?" "No. Wait. Isn't that Tadano-kun? He's wearing a skirt? What's going on?" By the time he reached the school gates, his face was burning. He pulled at the hem of his skirt for the 100th time, trying to make it feel less short. "Yo, Tadano," a familiar voice called out. He turned to see Najimi-Osana jogging toward him, their usual mischievous grin plastered across their face. They stopped short when they got a good look at him, their eyes widening in mock surprise. "Whoa, Tadano, is that you? Or did Komi-san clone herself overnight?" "Ha ha," Tadano said flatly, rolling his eyes. "No. Seriously," Najimi continued, circling him like a shark. "You look just like her. Like, if she stood next to you right now, I wouldn't even be able to tell who's who." "Oh, wait, I know, say something awkward, then I'll know it's you." "Very funny," Tadano muttered, pulling his bag up higher on his shoulder. Najimi grinned, clearly enjoying themselves. "But wow, Tadano, a skirt? You're really committing to this, huh? Did Komi-san teach you how to walk in those? Because if not, I give it about 30 minutes before you trip in front of the whole class." Tadano groaned. "Najimi, can you just let me get to class without embarrassing me? Where's the fun in that?" When Tadano finally made it to the classroom, the reactions were about what he expected. A mixture of shock, confusion, and poorly hidden amusement. His classmates stared as he walked in, their eyes darting between him and Komi, who was already seated at her desk. "Tadano-kun." Yamai Ren's voice broke the silence, her tone somewhere between disbelief and excitement. What's going on? Why are you dressed like that?" Tadano sighed, setting his bag down at his desk. "Long story," he muttered. Yamai's eyes sparkled as she leaned closer, practically vibrating with excitement. You look exactly like Komi-sama. This is amazing. It's like we have two Komis now. Lucky me, Tadano said dryly. Komi, meanwhile, was watching the exchange quietly, her cheeks faintly pink. She glanced at Tadano, then quickly looked away, fiddling with the hem of her skirt. The rest of the day wasn't much better. Everywhere Tadano went, whispers followed. During lunch, Naimi took it upon themselves to loudly announce that Tadano was now officially the second prettiest girl in school. Right after Komi-san, of course. Thanks, Naimi, Tadano said, deadpan, as he poked at his rice. Oh, don't be so grumpy, Naimi said, slapping him on the back. You should be proud. You're way prettier than half the girls here. That's not exactly the compliment you think it is. The real challenge came after school. Komi had shyly approached Tadano at the end of the day, holding out a small bag. Tadano blinked. What's this? Komi hesitated, her cheeks turning pink. She gestured toward his hair, then mimed brushing it. Oh, he said, realizing what she meant. It's for my hair. She nodded, her lips curving into a small smile. Thanks, he said, taking the bag. I guess I could use some help with that. I have no idea what I'm doing. Later that evening, Tadano sat at his desk, staring at the collection of hair products Komi had given him. There was shampoo, conditioner, a detangling spray, and a hairbrush. He picked up the brush, turning it over in his hand. This is my life now, he muttered to himself. He glanced at the mirror, where his reflection stared back at him. His hair really was a mess. Long, silky, but tangled from a day of being ignored. With a sigh, he picked up the brush and started working through the knot. It wasn't as easy as it looked. By the time he finished, his arms were sore, and his scalp felt like it had been yanked half a dozen times. But when he looked in the mirror again, the difference was noticeable. His hair fell in smooth, glossy waves, framing his face in a way that was annoyingly pretty. Well, he said, setting the brush down, at least I don't look like a total disaster. The next few weeks were a blur of adjustments. Had to learn how to style his hair, how to apply basic skincare, thanks to Komi's silent but helpful gestures, and how to navigate the challenges of wearing skirts and blouses. There were mishaps, of course, like the time he accidentally tucked his skirt into his waistband after using the bathroom, much to Najima's delight, or the time Yamai tried to convince him to join the girls' gym class, insisting he'd be more comfortable there. Through it all, Komi was a quiet source of support. She would leave small notes on his desk, offering tips or encouragement. Once, she even lent him a hair tie when his hair got in his face during gym class. And slowly, despite himself, Tadano began to adapt. One evening, as he sat brushing his hair, he caught himself humming softly. He paused, staring at his reflection. Guess this isn't so bad, he muttered, a small smile tugging at his lips. His mother, passing by his room, poked her head in. See? I told you you'd get the hang of it. Don't start, he said, though his tone was more amused than annoyed. She laughed. Good night, sweetie. Good night, Mom. As the door closed behind her, Tadano set the brush down and glanced at the small note Komi had left him earlier that day. You're doing great, it read, written in her neat, delicate handwriting. He smiled. And so, life went on. Tadano wasn't sure how he'd ended up here, but for now, he was making it work. One day at a time.